Welcome to Right Here, a podcast about mental health, connection, and what it means to be human. I'm Christopher Mooney.
And I'm Kenyon Phillips. Each episode, we unpack the psychological patterns that shape our relationships, our sense of self, and the way we move through the world.
No jargon, no judgment, just thoughtful conversations that invite us to come back to the present moment.
Because when we're right here with ourselves and right here with each other, something shifts.
We get a little clearer, a little more regulated, a little more right.
Right Here is a podcast partnership with WPKN 89.5 FM in Bridgeport, streaming online at WPKN.org and via our free listening apps. So you may have noticed the podcast has a new name.
It does have a new name. We are now working with WPKN in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
That's right.
We're recording out of their studios.
And WPKN is a public radio station, 89.5 FM in Bridgeport, heralded as the greatest radio station in the world by The New Yorker a couple of years ago.
I would agree. I've actually been listening to more radio since we met the wonderful people here at PKN. I love the programming here.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It is such an eclectic mix of everything.
And I know eclectic is an overused word, but it truly is eclectic here. You never know what you're going to hear when you...
No, I'm surprised. Every time I turn it on, I was like, wow, like this is like dark trance. And then other times I'm like listening to like old blues.
Blind Boys of Alabama. Yeah,
everything.
You really don't know what you're going to get. Yeah. It's an amazing grab bag.
Part of doing our recording here and working with WPKN is that we needed to change the name of our podcast. So we are now Right Here.
Right Here. And we're still all about mental health, connection, and being human.
Yeah, the content is not changing, just our name.
Hearing the word no can cause a lot of suffering.
Absolutely. It's a really hard word to hear, isn't it?
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. A lot of us did not grow up in homes or schools or even like our first jobs, going back to like the first time we had an office job maybe, where no was treated as a normal answer. Instead, we were trained to explain, justify, soften, over-apologize, or, I like this one, offer a whole life story in place of a simple, no, I can't do that.
It really is just a simple statement, but it's so hard. Like we feel like we have to give a whole explanation or a reason as to why we can't do something or why we just don't want to do something.
Right. But it was, there's a sense that like, oh, you can't say no. And a lot of suffering as a result. Online, no has become a kind of slogan. The idea, this is actually from recovery, no is a complete sentence.
When I was talking to you on the way down here to New Digs, to WPKN Studios.
That's right.
In Bridgeport, I was saying, hey, we should talk about just the word no. And you said no is a complete sentence.
I did. No does not actually require an explanation. So for people who have trouble saying no, who have boundary issues, saying no is a complete sentence, thinking no is a complete sentence that I don't have to rationalize or justify no or provide evidence is kind of radical.
I think, Kenyon, what happens when we say no, if it wasn't allowed or if we weren't in a home or in an environment, in a school or in a society, I think there's a societal shift too that contributes to this. But if we weren't in one of those environments that allowed that, where we had to explain it, no starts to feel like we're being rude. We're being selfish. We're ungrateful. We're dramatic. We're difficult.
Absolutely.
We're out of line. We're abrupt. I think of all the different like words that go along with like if someone says no to me, like what flashes through my mind before I think, oh, they just don't want to do this and that's okay.
Right.
And on the times that I say it and people have said or felt like maybe I was being rude or short.
Right.
I'm like, I can't do that. Maybe there's a good reason. There's typically a good reason, but
not taking no personally.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that today. We'll talk about why the word no is so hard and what no actually maybe protects, and then some of the myths and realities about saying no. And then we'll go over how to cleanly say no.
I was going to say, for those of us who need a little empowerment around no, it's kind of like no lessons.
Yeah. Maybe we can talk about why no is so difficult. And we touched on it a little bit, right? This early learning where many of us grew up in situations where maybe saying no led to conflict.
Right.
Like if you disagreed, you would get punished or you'd feel guilt. We talked last week when we were talking about anger, how I think I had referenced how guilt was often a currency that
Right.
people use. If we say no, we'd be made to feel guilty. Oh, why don't you want to do that? Can't you help me? Please, or you're supposed to do this. You're not a good listener. You know, you're not being a good kid if you just say no.
What I got growing up was if I said no, the very few times I tried saying it, I was labeled an ingrate. You are how could you say no when, by my parents, for example, we've done so much for you.
Right. I want to know, was the word ingrate used?
Yeah.
Wow.
You are an ingrate. That's one of the earliest words I learned.
That's like a 12-cent word for being 4 years old.
It's a good one.
So, well, I was also thinking about like how adults will often override no.
Exactly.
Like if you have a kid who expresses that and says no, like I think of like the example that comes to mind is when you're around like a relative or somebody that you see and you like, maybe you're a kid who doesn't want to give that person a hug or
Right. They're creepy. They smell like cheese.
They might, or you just don't want to do that. You're just not a kid who likes doing that, or you're just in a mood where you just don't want to give the person a hug and your parents would be like, don't be rude, go give them a hug.
Absolutely.
Or, come on, go over there.
That's a big one.
Or where you don't want to go do something and your parents might say, you're going, it's the end of the discussion. You're just basically, adults override our early ability to say no and have some agency.
And as a kid, that's so damaging.
Oh, it's awful. It sucks.
To learn that you cannot advocate for yourself. And then on the flip of that, I guess, saying yes, that was praised. Okay, if you say yes, then you're good. Then you're easygoing. You're polite.
Yeah, but we've talked about what that
compliant turns me into a people pleaser.
It turns you into people, and it's so fascinating. The word compliant. Yeah, you're compliant.
Mm-hmm.
I think of this often, when I worked in inpatient settings, and how people would refer to patients then being med compliant, or when you think about how we were trained to write notes.
Right.
Patient is compliant. It just, I remember thinking like that was like an icky word.
It was. It reminded me of like, what, do we really want them to get a lobotomy?
Just be compliant, you'll be fine. It turns into people pleasing, and that rolls into later on and how we socialize, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think women and girls are often taught that in order to be nice, you have to be agreeable. Like being nice equals agreeable.
Yeah. Don't rock the boat.
Yeah. And that no threatens that identity. Like you're not going to be seen as a nice girl if you say no and if you push back on anything. And then men and boys are taught to be accommodating too, I think, in different ways, right?
Absolutely. It's a lot of it comes down to like performing strength and being chill, right?
Yeah.
And if I say no, then I'm not going with the program.
Right. It's
I'm being difficult.
You are. As young boys, we're taught to override that.
Yeah.
And to ignore that. Like maybe I don't want to do this thing, but I won't be seen as strong. I won't be seen as tough if I push back on this.
Absolutely. It makes you weak somehow. Like if you say no, then you can't take it.
Dude, as a parent, this is such a hard, I'm just reflecting as we're talking, it's such a hard thing to navigate too, because as our kids get involved with sports and other activities and music and plays and all the other things that we put our kids into, we have to give them space to say, no, I don't like that. But I do feel like there's a balance, and we're going to get into that. Sometimes kids just don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they just want to sit there and maybe play video games or watch TV or just chill. As parents, we have to push a little bit.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But
yeah, we want them to have some distress tolerance.
Sure. But we want to be, we don't want to just shut people down.
Right.
And we certainly don't want to send the message like, hey, if you don't sack up, you're going to be weak for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Because, there are emotional consequences, as you explained, around, saying no that we want to avoid, ideally.
What are some of those consequences for people?
Saying no can trigger, obviously, we talked like this fear of rejection.
Meaning if I say no, I might be rejected?
Yeah. Like if you say no, you're going back to that hindbrain stuff. Humans are these pack animals. We need to be part of the herd. And if we're not, then we're going to die.
That's right. It's dangerous if we are left out alone.
It's, in an evolutionary sense. So there's that, the fear of rejection. There's guilt, the idea that, around people pleasing, that comes into play. Oh, I'm letting somebody down if I say no.
I'm supposed to be able to take everything on.
Yeah.
We talked about this when we met with Jake too, I believe, and just kind of the idea of how much pressure we put on ourselves. How often do we have to say yes? Are we taking on way too many tasks just because we can't say no?
Yeah,
or
the Jake Temper man plate idea. Like, are we overloading our plate because we can't say no? Shame comes along with guilt a lot. The idea that, because I have said no, I am therefore non-compliant, I'm selfish, I'm an ingrate, I'm too much.
Yeah, and I'm putting my needs before somebody else. How dare I?
Right. How dare I have needs at all?
Yeah, that's a whole other. That's actually a whole other episode.
That certainly is.
But I think when we think about the word no, if I say that, am I putting my needs before everybody else? And to be honest, that is a helpful way of looking at it. I'm thinking of the airplane analogy always with the oxygen masks. Right?
Yeah,
take care of yourself before you take care of everybody else. I know it's such an overused analogy in mental health treatment, but I think the idea here is like you do have to take care of your needs, and you're not necessarily being selfish. There's a huge spectrum of how you're interacting and how you walk through the world before you're seen as selfish.
Right. And
I think we're so worried that it becomes a very black and white thing. Oh, if I say no, then I must be selfish.
Right.
And it's like, no, there's a huge space before you get to the, hey, you're being selfish.
Yeah.
You're like, you never consider anybody else. You never say yes. That's a whole other thing, right? But you can say no.
Yeah.
About something. And it doesn't mean necessarily that you are too much.
No. And also difficulty saying no is not about weakness. It's usually about, just the way we've been trained.
Yeah.
Or what was modeled for us.
Right. I think the other thing that comes up, Kenyon, is when we say no, it brings up anxiety.
Yeah.
And we talk about anxiety a lot here on our podcast. And, the anxiety that no brings up is conflict.
Oh, big time.
It's anxiety around conflict.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, this idea that if we say no, we're going to be shut down, or we might get in trouble, we might get punished.
Right. Might get locked out.
Sure. I think of like any 3-year-old who's saying no, they don't want to put their shoes on, or they don't want to have like dino nuggies, like whatever it might be.
Right.
You're going to get into an argument, you might get, yelled at, you might get, worse.
Right.
So we carry that anxiety with us through life, if we don't kind of work on it and resolve it. So anytime we actually push back on anything we necessarily don't like, we're going to have that anxiety of like, oh, here comes conflict.
Right, exactly.
Conflict is not a bad thing.
That's an important one.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Conflict is not a bad thing. It's not negative.
Right.
Conflict just means that there is that you and the other person are not meeting at the same level.
Right.
On the same idea. You might be in the same area, right? Same ballpark. But,
yeah.
But yeah, there's some consternation there that we need to resolve. Mm-hmm. Conflict actually gives you an opportunity to really understand where the other person's coming from, and to help them understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Yalom always said that conflict in a group scenario was great.
Dude, when I was running groups, like way back when, I loved it.
Yeah.
And I loved the silence too, of just sitting and letting the conflict just sit.
Yeah.
Because out of that, somebody is so uncomfortable, they're going to say something.
Yeah.
And you get to talk about it in that environment.
As you said, it enables us to hear where somebody else is coming from.
In real time.
Right.
What better opportunity? I mean, we can play through all these scenarios in our mind, we can talk about them, but when you get to work through these issues in real time with somebody and resolve conflict, or say, I'm saying no and here's why, if you want, it gives a real opportunity to allow somebody else to understand you.
No, absolutely. And just some ways that, not saying no can harm us. Basically like prioritizing other people's comfort over our own limits and being honest about our limits.
You mean like at like work or friends, anywhere, right?
Anywhere. Basically not, almost denying that we're a limited resource.
Yeah.
I should be able to do everything. Your boss puts something on your plate's already full, and you feel like, I can't say no. I remember having to learn in a work environment, when my boss doesn't know how much work I actually have. So when I'm told to do something and I've already have like 3 top priority assignments, I need to actually have a conversation with my boss and say, actually, no, I can't do this right now unless you want me to reorder the other assignments. I guess that's advocacy.
That's the advocacy part afterwards. And then there's all the fear of like, what will happen if I do say no at my job? Or am I going to get fired? Am I going to get, on a performance plan?
Mm-hmm. And also like not saying no to something like a social plan and then dreading it all week because you didn't have, the wherewithal to say no.
There's so many memes about this, right?
Yeah.
Like the idea of like having social plans and then both parties just waiting for the other person to call and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, something came up." Like,
the other person's like, "Yes."
And also, that's the example, right? Of they have to say something came up,
right?
Rather than just like, no, I honestly just don't have it in me, or I don't feel the energy, or I've got 6 other things on my docket today that I have to go through.
Yeah.
The other example that where this is an issue is if like we say yes because it's our family role.
Oh, the obligation.
Right. Like or like to caregiving or holidays, we just build like this resentment over time. How many people during COVID were suddenly in quarantine were suddenly like, "Hey, I don't have to go to Thanksgiving this year."
Oh, they were so we were psyched.
Or when we start thinking about like politics and how families became so divided, like the real torment here was, how do I say no when I don't want to sit around my racist family's like, dining room table?
Right.
Not mine. I'm just as an example.
No, I get it.
And how do I say no when I don't want to like talk to, that relative or whatever?
Yeah.
And vice versa. And I heard it from people from the other side too, being like, I don't want to have to hear about like all these agendas and everything. And it's like people used to just tolerate it. And then they were really struggling with how to say no. Mm-hmm. Because I think more attention has been put on this, Kenyon, so that people want to be able to say no and hold a boundary. When we talked about it with that boundary thing, like we have to be able to tolerate some discomfort. We can't just shut everybody out. But we do have to say no to certain things. Or maybe you have to go to the other side of the family for like a holiday dinner or a significant other's family. Or caregiving. Can't take care of, this person this week. Sorry.
Yeah. That's a big one.
That becomes a struggle. Or when we're forced to do it or we can't say no, then we build that resentment. Mm-hmm. Oh, here we go again. Oh, I have to do this again.
Resentment is huge. And we talked about that last episode around anger, as like a key component of anger. But resentment is the quiet killer. It just grows and grows. Quiet. It simmers. It simmers.
It's toxic. Like, I think resentment and shame are 2 of those really toxic. We've talked about shame being this toxic kind of thing. I think resentment, you're right. It boils underneath,
and it leads to contempt.
Mm-hmm. It kind of eats away, right?
Yeah. It's definitely corrosive. So, what does saying no actually protect?
So, this is a reframe. We talk about this with anxiety too, right? Anxiety is not a bad thing. It's a helpful thing.
Yeah, it's a good signal.
It is. It's our brain telling us pay attention.
Right.
And so, if we think about no the same way, it's a protective word. It's not a rejection to the other person or of the other person. So like a healthy no, it's protecting your energy and your health. Mm-hmm. You mentioned burnout before at work or chronic stress. When everything is a yes, we just feel it builds and builds and builds. So if we say no, we're actually protecting our exhaustion, our burnout, our stress levels, all that cortisol we always talk about.
Cortisol, the stress hormone.
There you go.
Doesn't do anything good for us.
No. Your time, it protects your time. So every yes to something or a task is a no to something else.
Ooh, that's a big one. That's a big one.
If we think about it that way, right, that's that reframe. Every time I say yes, it's a no to something else.
Yeah. My wife will often frame, because I'm a yes man, as I've outed myself in other episodes. I get really carried away with almost the romanticism of like, oh yeah, let's do that. And then my wife who's so pragmatic, will often point out, hey, you've said yes to all these other people. Mm-hmm. And I know these are all people you're excited about or these opportunities. You're not pulling your weight at home.
Yeah.
I need you home to help with the kids. I need you here, just so we can do stuff as a family.
Absolutely, yeah. So you lose like rest, you lose that time with kids, maybe your partner,
right?
Maybe your own process of creativity. The more stuff you have going on, the more stuff I have going on. There's less time for me to think about what we're doing with our practice, what we're doing with, music. You and I both create music and love it. I think much of the time I don't get to go out and hike or fish. Or fish, as I'm obsessed about lately. So the other thing we can look at is that our value system, right? So if we reframe no as a protective thing, we're protecting our values. If we constantly say yes to everybody, we are inevitably going to say yes to things that don't line up with what we believe and what matters to us. And so that actually strikes at something pretty deep, because if we continuously do things that don't align with our value system, we're not living authentically. And when I say authentically, since we're not doing the whole jargon thing here, I mean our insides aren't matching our outsides.
Right. The consistency isn't there.
Yeah. And I'm just going to throw this out there as a thing for everybody to think about. When our insides don't match our outsides, we have mental health issues.
Big time.
That's that existential framework for that. If we don't align with our values, or our behaviors don't match up with how we feel, the insides versus the outsides, then it creates depression, it creates anxiety, it creates, a lot of these other mental health issues that we deal with, because there's not this balance in our life.
For sure.
So saying yes to things that don't line up with what matters to us, it's like this idea of self-betrayal. We're not living to what we believe.
100%. And self-abandonment that comes with that betrayal.
Absolutely.
And then when, the self-abandonment is always going to end, or inevitably, I think, going to end in resentment, burnout, collapse. Again, from a recovery standpoint, in Al-Anon recovery, ACA recovery, talk about how that can be a terminal disease of thinking.
Yeah, tell everybody what ACA and ACOA
Adult
is.
Children of Alcoholics.
Yeah.
So it's very, very similar to Al-Anon, which is a program for the family and friends of people with alcohol abuse disorder. The consistent qualities of somebody who's in ACA, Al-Anon, what they struggle with is self-abandonment. I've heard Al-Anon defined as a disease of identity death. And the identity death comes from self-abandonment, regular, systematic self-abandonment, where you're prioritizing usually the person who has an alcohol use disorder.
Yeah, you're reminding me of our codependency conversation.
Big time.
That people can go back and reference. But that idea of putting all of our time into the person with the issue, the identified, patient or client, as they say, and we want to avoid that self-betrayal, right? That self-abandonment.
Yeah. And when you reframe, as you said, no, in this context, no is not about rejecting people. It's not about pushing people away. It's about making sure we have a little bit of ourselves left in any relationship. It makes a yes more genuine.
It does. And because it's aligning more with your value system and with what you actually feel. So no is not primarily about pushing people away. Mm-hmm. It's about making sure there's actually a piece of you left in the relationship.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're saying, right? Like
that's a better way of saying it. Yes. If I don't have any of myself left, I am useless to other people.
I'm thinking about an exercise people can do if they catch themselves saying yes too much, or around this idea of allowing there to still be a piece of them in relationships. And maybe it's just something good for people to reflect on. If I'm agreeing to do something, am I aligning with my values? Am I present in this relationship? Is there a piece of me in this relationship that's still available and present when I agree to do something or disagree to do something?
I love that. Actually, a Peloton instructor once, I remember in a class, said, before we say yes to something, ask ourselves, is this going to benefit my health, my wealth, or my happiness? And we could even substitute the or for an and.
True. It can be one or all of those things. The woman who's doing all the home organizing, then does this bring you joy?
Yeah, sparking joy. Yeah. If it doesn't, throw it out.
Throw it out. Get rid of it. I think, Kenyon, a lot of people believe that saying no is going to damage that relationship. And in reality, when we never say no, it ends up doing more damage in the long run. Because other people are going to see it as weakness too. I think, or it can be exploited. Or people might just be like, yeah, the person always says yes to everything.
They'll characterize us as a pushover.
That's right.
There's that old, wonderful saying, if I stand for nothing, then I'll fall for anything.
That's true. Let's talk about some myths and realities about what happens when we say no.
Yes.
So we mentioned in the beginning, no is always harsh or unkind. So this is myth number one. That when we say no, it's harsh or unkind.
Right.
And the reality is it can be, but our tone and our context matter. No can be firm and warm at the same time. Like, I care about you. I just don't have the bandwidth to do that for you right now.
Absolutely. Tone is so important. There's a theory which I subscribe to. Anything can be communicated between two people if the right tone is struck.
We should look into how the English language and its lack of tonality contribute to miscommunication. That would be a great...
And aggression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one setting.
It's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. Another myth is that if I say no, people will be angry and leave. My addendum would be, people will hurt me.
Oh, if you say no, people are going to hurt you.
I actually will be in danger. Yeah. The reality is that, some people might be disappointed. When we stop people pleasing, people stop being pleased. And a few might react badly, but people who cannot tolerate any no usually have been exploiting us. They've usually been benefiting from our lack of boundaries. And so if those people are the ones giving you the middle finger when you say no, maybe it's good riddance.
That's true. If I've been giving you ice cream every day for a year and suddenly I'm like, sorry, dude, there's no more ice cream, you're going to be a little upset, aren't you?
That's right. But you'll be rid of me.
Well, you'll run away to find somebody else to give you ice cream every day.
Exactly. The discomfort is data. It's not proof that we're wrong.
Yeah.
What's another myth here?
Another myth is that I owe someone a detailed explanation.
Yes.
So if I tell you no, then I have to give some elaborate story and all the details about why I can't do that thing.
Right.
And that's just not true. The reality is you're allowed to just say, that doesn't work for me, or I'm not able to do that right now, or I just can't at this moment. I got some other stuff going on. And you don't need to attach the essay or the in many cases the whole novel to it.
Absolutely. The Russian novel. A very, very long novel. Yeah. I love that. Doesn't work for me. This doesn't work for me is an incredible tool I've found for communication. It's a great way to avoid accusation when somebody else's behavior is intolerable for us. Because it's rooted in an I statement. Instead of saying, Chris, when you backed into my car and then told me it was my fault, you were being a real, Instead of that, I can just say, hey, Chris, that doesn't work for me. And then it's,
Yeah, I would assume that wouldn't work for both of us. And just to be clear, I did not back into your car either.
Absolutely not. But
not
if
yet.
you did,
you'd know it.
We would definitely know it.
I also, I was thinking about this. We don't need to explain anything, and I need to be able to set that boundary. We all do. Just say, I just can't do that right now.
That's where no as a complete sentence comes from.
That idea of having to explain everything and kind of like make it okay. And that's where this gets twisted, right? If we think of no as like something evil, then we have to explain it to make it palatable. That's just not the case. We don't have to make no palatable. We just have to make it about us.
Absolutely.
Hey, I just can't do that thing right now.
And here's where kids are a great educator for me. My kids have no problem saying no. And it's not personal.
Not at all.
Thank God they don't feel like they need to protect me and say yes when they want to say no.
Right.
But yeah, the no's come fast and furious, and they're easy. No, they're not furious. They're just like a no.
They're furious. It's when I ask them to do the dishwasher, and then I'm like, come on, okay, but now you got to do it.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to override that one.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right? We get into what do we need as a family system, or you might have a group of people socially. What do you all need to contribute together, and how are you all doing that to make something function?
Right.
And so, yes, you can say no sometimes in that, but then sometimes you have to say yes too.
Yeah.
And so that's the balance that we talk about, right? So if I say no, maybe I add, but next time, don't not ask me next time to help you move because I said no this time.
Totally.
I just can't this time.
Totally.
But maybe next time I'm available, but certainly keep checking in with me.
Yeah.
So this is the next myth. If I start saying no, I'm going to be cold or selfish.
Right.
The withdrawal symptom of setting limits and boundaries is guilt.
Right.
And the same thing is going to happen here. If you find yourself listening to this and being like, oh man, I always say yes to everything. Mm-hmm. What would that look like if I said no in a healthy way? I'm going to feel so bad. I'm going to feel cold. I'm going to feel selfish. Chances are, yes, you will feel that way, but that's only temporary.
Yeah.
That's actually the withdrawal symptom of being a yes person all the time, being a people pleaser.
Right. It's unfamiliar.
It is unfamiliar. So you're going to feel a little weird about it.
A little uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I find that our good friends and family, the people who really are a support system, who have our backs, if you're a people pleaser, they will applaud you when you say no. We had a funny moment a couple months ago where you asked me to do something and I gave you a hard no, and you said, "Oh my God, congratulations. That's the first hard no you've ever given me. You're always so accommodating."
I think I cheered. I was like, yeah. I think I was so happy. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
More.
And, right, totally. But that's important. It's important for those of us who are uncomfortable saying no, or who have a fear, a deep-seated fear that people are going to abandon us the moment we do say no and assert a boundary, that it's not the case.
Yeah. I think it was from the Zen Center. I think I saw one of the people post that if you're uncomfortable, it means that you're changing.
Yes.
And that was not the direct quote, but the takeaway from whatever thing I saw from them, because they have such wonderful content, was that if you're feeling uncomfortable, that means there's change happening.
Yeah. We're talking about the New York Zen Center for Contemplative Care, incredible nonprofit. Absolutely. Growth is uncomfortable. Like when we're growing, it's not fun.
Not at all.
But it's necessary and it's useful and it's helpful.
Yeah. None of it's ever fun. It's like when your muscles are growing and stuff, it hurts.
Right.
If you work out, but then all of a sudden you're like, no, but that's a good pain.
Right.
It's a good discomfort. It's a good sore.
Exactly.
To have.
So speaking of discomfort, how do we say no? How do we practice cleaner no's?
Clean no's. Mm-hmm. We buy ourselves time. So if immediate no feels impossible, feels really hard for you to say, you can say something like, let me check and get back to you.
Yes.
Let me look at my schedule.
Yes. I had a wonderful therapist many years ago who taught me that. It's like,
did they keep telling you, let me check my schedule?
Right. No. By example. No, but it's so, he said, buy yourself time. You don't have to say yes in the moment. Like say, I'm going to have to get back to you about that.
Kenyon, I tell parents this all the time for the last 20 years, working with parents and families especially when I was working with adolescents. Nothing your adolescent or your kid is coming up and demanding that you have to do is a life or death emergency. The only thing you have to react to immediately is if somebody is in imminent danger and they're going to die or get, some kind of bodily harm. Everything else in life is not an emergency. You can say, hold on, let me think about that. Let me go check with your other parent. Let me think about it for a bit. So I want to be clear. If we treat everything like it's an emergency and we have to address it immediately, then we don't give ourselves the chance to say no. That's not healthy. We want to respond to things, right? Respond versus react.
Right.
Same thing with kids. Same thing in this situation. We want to be able to just buy ourselves some time and say, I'll get back to you.
Right.
And that allows also the person to say, well, I need an answer kind of soon or right now. You say, yeah, I can't give you that answer right now. Let me check. I'll get back to you in like an hour or in a week or whatever it might be.
Right.
But it actually interrupts that automatic yes, and it lets your nervous system, that anxiety, that like, oh my God, if I do this, what's going to happen? It allows that to settle.
Settle, yeah.
And then we're not in fight or flight, or fear or fawn would be having to say yes all the time.
Right.
That if we finally get the one where fawn makes sense.
Fawn makes perfect sense here. And it enables us to make an informed decision because I'm giving myself space and time to consider.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another way to do it is, start with low stakes no's.
What does that look like?
Low stakes no's would be practice saying no where the risk is low. So maybe somebody you feel really comfortable with, somebody you trust, somebody you know has your back and they know you have theirs. Turning down small requests when, your plate is full. At work, that's a perfect example. We talked about this a little bit before, social events. If it's something that's important,
right,
that's one thing. But if it's not that important, we get so many invitations to things that aren't that important socially.
Absolutely.
That are optional.
So that might be
no.
a good place to test that, right?
Try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of this stuff that we talk about, Kenyon, I'm all about just experimenting. It's, hey, what would it be like to try this?
Mm-hmm.
Go out and experiment. A lot of the process of self-improvement and therapy and kind of like working on ourselves is really about recognizing what we like, what we don't like, what works for us, what doesn't work for us.
Right.
And then trying little experiments along the way to make changes.
Mm-hmm.
We are always allowed to tip the scale in our favor.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. We can put our finger on the scale and just be like, you know what? I could say no here and it's not going to have any consequence to it, but I'm going to practice it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm tipping the scale. And this goes back to like this CBT approach, like cognitive behavioral therapy, right?
Totally. How
do we collect more evidence that those negative things that I think all the time are not true?
Right, that those are cognitive distortions.
Mm-hmm. I need to collect more evidence that something can work. So you know what? I say yes all the time. I don't say no all the time. Now I need to just collect more evidence to prove that I can say no.
The point is practicing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And experimentation is practice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we get stronger.
Same thing with working out. It's repetition.
Exactly.
It's just repetition over time and practicing it and making small adjustments along the way to just get stronger with it.
Yeah. So what are some ways we can say no?
Oh, this is always the struggle, right? Do you just come right out and say no? Or you might say like, hey, I can't take that on right now.
I like that.
Or that doesn't work for me. You mentioned this before. Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah. That
right?
doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned thanking the person. Say, oh, thanks for reaching out. Definitely try me again.
Yeah.
Even though I can't help you move this weekend. I'd like to, but I just don't have the bandwidth.
That's everybody, by the way. So just keep this in mind. If you have to say no to somebody, just remember that they are also probably feeling just as overwhelmed and have just as many things on their plate, which is probably why they're asking you anyway. But it is not our job to rush in and alleviate other people's struggle either.
Right.
So we can all say, hey, I'd like to do this, but I don't have the capacity right now. And that's when you figure you can be more creative. You can figure out how to get things done if you communicate that. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Other people also don't have the capacity. We're not alone in that.
Totally.
So, but we can own it and say, yeah, it's just right now that doesn't work. Or just, no, I'm going to pass on this one.
Which is fine. That's pretty neutral. That's not a rejection. Running groups, I've noticed, when we go around the room, do you want to share? A lot of people just say pass. And I don't take it personally. It doesn't, nobody else in the room does.
Right. Well, because it's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about us all the time.
It's not?
It's not. Yeah. That's the idea, right? That many people, I think, struggle with.
Oh, 100%.
They don't want that, but then it's also the fear.
Yeah. Well, and along those lines of, self-centered fear, you will, if you're not somebody who says no a lot, you're definitely going to experience some discomfort around saying it.
Yeah. So this is what I think we would like people to just reflect on after listening today and just expect discomfort. If you are learning to say no as a full statement, expect to feel discomfort and learn to tolerate it. We have to be able to tolerate just being uncomfortable. So expect that you are going to feel guilt and you are going to feel anxiety and you are certainly going to feel a strong urge to explain or backtrack or just kind of give the full, like, I'm so sorry, if you say no. It doesn't mean you're doing this wrong. It just means that you're doing something new.
That is new, right?
It is new. It's new and it's important. And if it's uncomfortable, it means you're growing.
Right.
Discomfort is not the same thing as being in danger. Our nervous systems are going to react to the word no like it's unsafe because maybe it once was, but it doesn't mean that it's unsafe now.
Mm-hmm. That's important.
It doesn't mean that we are unsafe now.
Right. And, if when we practice something, we're not going to get it right every time. So if the no comes out harsher than you wanted it to, we can say things like, hey, I meant it when I said no, but I'm really sorry for the way that came out.
Don't go up and say, did you not hear me? I said no.
I said no. No means no.
Right. In all seriousness, though, right? Like, make a repair if you need. But this goes back to what you mentioned earlier about tone and context. Tone is really important. And if it comes out a little sideways, make the adjustment afterwards. Say, you know what, that came out a little funny. And you can even say, I'm working on it. I'm working on how to say no. So I'm going to adjust that and I'm going to say it to you a little differently, still expressing what you need.
You're holding the boundary. You're just adjusting the delivery on it.
Totally. Also start to notice where a yes might mean self-betrayal. And what I mean by self-betrayal is that exact thing about our values. What is important to us? If I say yes to this, am I giving up a piece of myself or am I actually contributing and helping?
That's a great one. Mm-hmm. That goes back to the idea of giving from our abundance rather than from our core. When we give from our abundance, if I'm saying yes, that means I can do something without draining myself, without losing, the cost isn't so high. If I'm giving from my core, if I'm giving from my principle rather than my interest, then the cost to me is too high. And I actually don't have any business giving from that place because that's what I need for me.
To continue living.
And
flourishing and being
baseline.
Okay. Yeah. That's, by the way, thank you for saying that. When we talk about the difference between the core and the interest or the extra, you said the baseline. We're not talking about making sure that you have an overabundance in your core. You're talking about just what you need to be okay, and how much do we give or take from that, right? And so it's really important when we reflect to say, what do I need to just be baseline? Some days we get a little extra and it builds that up and we have a little bit of overflow. Those are the days we can give a little bit more. Or maybe we have a little extra in the tank to hand over and share. Other days we're below baseline and we cannot give. We might have to take on those days, and that's okay. Take is not a bad word either. We might have to ask for it from somebody, but that's okay. We find the people that can do that. But I like Kenyon, how you said, baseline. That's an important distinction.
Thanks for listening to Right Here, a podcast partnership with WPKN 89.5 FM in Bridgeport, streaming online at WPKN.org and via our free listening apps. If today's conversation resonated with you, we encourage you to follow, review, and share Right Here with anyone you think would appreciate it.
We'll be back soon with another conversation designed to bring a little more light to the human condition. I'm Christopher Mooney.
And I'm Kenyon Phillips.
Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Right Here is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for therapy, diagnosis, or treatment. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis, please contact a local emergency service or your trusted mental health professional.